Hi, I'm Mark Gaylor, Sony Alpha Ambassador, and in this series of short video tutorials we're going to deep dive into Sony's new menus that we see on cameras such as the A7 IV and the Alpha 1. So without much further ado, let's get started. Let's take a look at the SteadyShot settings on Sony Alpha cameras. I'll be using an Alpha 7 IV to demonstrate this. Now you might find that you have optical SteadyShot on some of the Sony lenses you own. It's particularly useful on the telephoto zoom lenses. Now this will work hand in hand with the SteadyShot inside, or in-body image stabilization, sometimes referred to as IBIS. Now let's go into the Sony menus, that's the red shooting menu, page 8, to find image stabilization, and there you'll find three options to fine-tune your SteadyShot settings. Now if you find that SteadyShot is grayed out on the camera, this will be because there will be a lens that you're using that has a SteadyShot switch on the lens itself, and so if you want to switch SteadyShot on or off, that has to be done on the lens. As I said, that menu item will be grayed out in the camera's menu if that is the case. Let's come down one line item to SteadyShot adjust. That will normally be automatic because the lens will communicate its focal lengths to the SteadyShot settings in the camera, but there are some lenses that don't communicate that. If you see no contacts on the rear of the lens when you mount it, it's a good likelihood that it's not communicating its focal length to the camera. So the camera, to be able to apply SteadyShot to that lens, it needs to know the focal length. So we'll set the SteadyShot adjust to manual, and we'll roll down one line item to focal length. This is where you'll dial in the focal length that you're using. Now that could be a zoom lens, but you'll need to be very careful that you're dialing in the correct focal length on that lens for the Sony SteadyShot to be able to stabilize that. Okay, and of course that's very useful when we're purchasing some lenses with no optical SteadyShot inside those lenses. It does mean that we can stabilize non-stabilized lenses. Okay, so here I'm stabilizing. I do own a 15mm focal length lens that has to have this setting applied manually. Okay, so it's such a useful item having SteadyShot in the camera that it is worth assigning SteadyShot to the FN menu. Here I've put it on the bottom row. So occasionally if I do need to switch SteadyShot off, I've got quick and easy access without having to deep dive into the menus. Now in movie mode we'll have more than just on or off on the SteadyShot settings. So I've switched the camera over to movie mode now, press the FN button on the back of the camera. You'll see that SteadyShot is in the standard SteadyShot setting here, but in video mode or movie mode we also have active SteadyShot on this Alpha 7 IV camera. And this would be the SteadyShot setting you would choose if you intend to walk with the camera. This is going to give you the maximum stabilization. You do lose some of the field of view of your lenses, so your lens will look like it's just zoomed ever so slightly. So if that is the case, you might want to zoom out before using active SteadyShot, or use a slightly wider prime lens. Now some lenses, as I said, have optical SteadyShot on the lens, and that grays out the SteadyShot menus on the camera. So we need to go in onto the settings on the lens to choose the SteadyShot settings. Now most of the time you'll just leave optical SteadyShot in the on position, but some of the lenses, particularly the white Sony lenses, have SteadyShot modes 1, 2 and sometimes 3. Now 1 is used when you're trying to keep the camera as still and stable as possible when you're using slow shutter speeds. Now if you are panning the camera with slower shutter speeds, then you'll need to move the mode to 2. That disables one of the gyros, the stabilizing gyros in the lens, and that frees up the movement from left to right or right to left, and the camera won't attempt to stabilize that movement. So that is very useful, and that will also be communicated back to the camera because OSS on the lens talks to the image stabilization in the camera. Now, there will be times when motion is erratic. It's not simply just moving left to right or right to left. It may be swooping upwards or diagonally, in which case you really want to switch SteadyShot off if you don't have a mode 3. If you have a mode 3, then just turn that to the mode 3, and then you'll be stabilizing erratic movement. Basically, the camera will figure out when it needs to disable one or both of the gyros. And as I said, if you've got a camera with just SteadyShot on or off and you've got fast motion, you could just switch OSS off, because you don't want to be trying to stabilize a lens that you're not trying to keep stable. You're moving, you're panning the camera, so switch the OSS on the lens to off. There are in some instances again where when you're panning with the camera, you do want to switch that off in the camera if the lens doesn't have any SteadyShot settings at all. So that's where you'd come into that FN menu and just disable the SteadyShot for just these 1 or 2 images. The other instance where you want to turn SteadyShot to off is when you're doing long exposures with the camera mounted on a tripod. You really don't want those gyros causing a little bit of vibration running through the camera, creating a slightly softer looking image. So if you are setting up a memory on the shoot mode dial for landscapes when you're shooting on a tripod, just have the SteadyShot setting set to off, so you can you don't have to remember to turn it off when doing those landscape shots. If you found this information useful, head over to patreon.com/Mark Gaylor. I'm offering an Alpha Creative Skills support channel where you can download a 500-page camera-specific ebook, and I've covered most of the late model Alpha cameras. You'll also be able to download a camset file if you own one of the later model Alphas. You'll be able to set up your entire camera with just a single file copied to a memory card. I also offer additional ebooks for people to download to help them master the skills of creative photography, and also a range of 1-hour seminars that look at the using the camera gear to the best effect, and also to build up your skills of photography in general. So head over to patreon.com/Mark Gaylor.